We got some family in the house, which is awesome. But
Yeah, it's awesome.
Alexandra, thank you so much for doing this with me. What's crazy is we met towards the end of last year, and it felt real, and you were immediately a kindred spirit, and I feel like we're gonna have a friendship for a really long time. And so thank you so much for doing this with me. And the fact that it's where are you right now and what time is it? Let's
First off, Abraham, I feel the same. I think you are an incredible talent, and even more incredible human. And it's been so fun to watch your career and music, and I can't wait to see it expand even more and grow and always in your corner.
thank you.
I just everything about you and the art that you're creating, I'm such a big fan. And it is 2 a.m. here. I'm in Monaco.
She is
My
in Monaco, guys. In Monaco. I've never been, but I've looked at pictures and it looks amazing.
So Monaco is supposed to be a really like happening place. Lots of restaurants, lots of action, not very quiet, and I've never seen it like that. It's very calm for me. It's going to be a serene spot for me. And we've been joking that when Monaco opens back up and goes back to normal, I'm going to hate it here because it's become my like quiet place.
No. You're gonna have the best party that you've ever had in your entire life because you're in Monaco. So
Exactly. And now it's become like a strange home because I travel a lot. And so it's the first time I've been in one place for this long, 2 months now. Actually sitting still in one place for a while has caused me to really go inward and do a lot of reflecting because I'm used to constantly moving around.
yeah,
And it's really easy to, keep moving and ignoring things. And it's caused me to really sit and create more routine in my life, which I'm really grateful for.
that's awesome. So you were originally you're from Dallas area. You're a DFW native.
I live in Dallas. I went to school there. My mom's from Dallas. I was born in Alabama and lived in Alabama and Nashville. And then went to school at SMU.
Yes.
And got Rise really hitting you in the comment section.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in there. I love it.
Um,
I haven't seen it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up kind of all over the South and consider Texas home.
So you mentioned that you went to SMU. How was that experience for you going to SMU?
SMU, it's funny. I wouldn't change the SMU experience for anything. I think that I've made some of the most incredible friends and opportunities for business through being at SMU. But I will say that every semester I looked at transferring until I got into the film department. And there was a woman, it's an interesting story, but she became my mentor and later became one of my best friends, and the girl who became my boss's mother-in-law. And so she's continued to be in my life in that way. But she recommended that I go into the film department. It wasn't something that I was thinking about doing. And then I learned from that experience in the film department, I got to see a different side of SMU. I'd been in the sorority Greek life there, and it opened me up to different perspectives. A lot more art. I feel like I kind of found a place where I didn't feel like such an outsider. I always was a bit artsier, I think. And that was where I really was able to kind of like hone in on creativity that I'd been kind of pushing away through the first half of my experience at SMU. And then that helped me later. And when I was in my 20s, after I graduated, I was doing a lot of like freelance for film, but when I say freelance, I was doing like working for free. Like freelance meaning I was doing makeup and showing up and on sets. And so I learned, I loved being on film sets. And when I was a kid, actually, I acted. And so I was always around film sets, and I loved the camaraderie of it. I loved the fact that you'd go somewhere and join up with a bunch of people and create a world. And I think that is what became really enticing to me about building brands and building companies, is that you really start to build a world with a lot of camaraderie and team members around, and it's like creating that magic that I think that I grew up with on film sets.
Now, so you said that you was filming something that you wanted to do instantly from going into SMU, or like what drew you into that? Like what was the lead into, hey, I'm gonna try film and leave behind your sorority life?
Well, I wouldn't have called myself like an A+ sorority
Yeah.
girl anyway, but yeah, I left that. I really got into it. I had acted growing up and done theater, and then I got into the film department, and I found it so amazing to be able to write your own content and create, and I loved being behind the camera, and I loved um I I, I just loved the fact that you could take something off of, that you take something from your brain and bring it to life.
Yeah.
And I loved supporting different artists in that.
So I love what you said, and we can segue is taking something in your head and bring it to life. I read this book and it said that the first step to bringing something from a spiritual realm to a physical realm is to write it down. And you have this, literally, like, you're one of the most interesting people that I've ever met.
That's
Facts. Facts.
really
Yeah. Sorry, we keep pausing. You're like in the
like
other
it.
side of the world, and I'm here, so bear with us. But yeah, so let's kind of move forward. You started working with Bumble, and it was you and three other women who got together and started collaborating to bring an idea to life. Tell me how that experience was of literally writing down inspirations, writing down things that you thought would succeed, and you're bringing things to life. Like, how was that experience?
I think that experience for me showed the power of thought and the power of the mind, and seeing how you really could take something from nothing. Like, we built a brand from scratch, and Whitney Wolf Hurd is the founder of Bumble, and she brought me into the team early on. There were two other women, Caroline and Sam, and Whitney brought me in to launch Bumble Dallas. Whitney was a friend of mine, and she said that I could, you guys, and I'm sorry, it is 2 a.m. here. I should have had a little caffeine, but she said that she wanted me to come on for a 3-month contract employee position to launch Bumble in Dallas. And within 3 weeks, I had started doing all of the copy, social media, and content for the brand, and really had the great joy of bringing the voice of Bumble
Yeah.
about. And I think what that was like was really writing down. I got to help write the world that we saw that women should be able to live in, and see it come to life, and all of that in the social media context. I mean, every single day. So I was running Bumble Social, and back then brands really didn't have that sort of input. They really weren't, commenting in the way that we started to do it on our social, and we did it through actually humor and memes, and we were able to take something which was like the misogyny that exists in dating and put women in control. And every day I got to try that out and see how people responded to it. And it wasn't something where it was constructed in a very, sophisticated brand book way. It was done organically, like day by day, trial and error. The voice kind of came together. And so I think, even with creating Bumble in the beginning, I think that Whitney always is a force of the balls in her court, and that was before the content, the social media content got more into, it got funny. But she said she sent that in a screenshot, and she sent it to the team, and she said, maybe one day if we work hard enough, we can get like Serena Williams to be involved and, say, make the first move. And then sure enough, fast forward 4 years, almost 5 years, and we had 4 years, we had a Super Bowl ad with Serena Williams telling people to make the first move. And I think that a lot of what we did through Bumble was having that experience of saying things would happen and then seeing it come to life, and then realizing that you really could manifest your life in that way.
That's incredible. Yeah, and we were, you know,
But believing in it, almost like believing in it in a way that is, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, no,
believing
no, no, please go.
in a way that people, I think in the beginning, there were a lot of people who laughed at what we were doing and said that it would never work, and women would never make the first move. I had so many people in my life comment and say it was trashy that I was being like joining it, like creating a dating app. Shouldn't I be embarrassed or ashamed by it? And all of that really fueled the desire to make it happen, and for me, and to get it going. And I think that so much of what we were able to do is like just wholeheartedly and like fearlessly believe that this was going to be successful. And actually all of that negativity really fueled making it happen.
So as a creative, and I'm speaking, mostly in the musicians world, we are constantly in search of the hit. We're writing, we're putting ideas and pieces together down in search of that one hit, and we're collaborating with people, and we know who we're able to collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know that you, along with your with the women, had the hit?
First off, I it was so fun. Like,
Mm.
creating it with them was a blast. Like, it was some of the most fun memories of my entire life. The things that we did were, uh, I mean, not things that you would imagine a company would do. We jumped out of an airplane to launch Bumble, and so I think there was just so much joy amongst doing it. So everything, and we kind of had daredevil mentality. So we would, push each other to do crazy things.
Yeah.
Sam on the team would do hilarious Snapchats, and we'd go out during the workday and film it, and create this like buzz around that. And people started catching on to that and started, associating with it. Or we would be posting things on social media. Like I'd put up things about, the walk of shame really being a stride of pride for women. Or yeah, one of my favorite things that I put up was like talking about how it's not a walk of shame if you stop for brunch along the way, or things like that were really bringing humor to these conversations, that were really bringing a lot of shame to women's lives, and seeing people begin to own it. But I think there were three moments. One was hearing that women were starting to make the first move in real life was really amazing to me, to see that what was taking place in the app was translating into real life. And then seeing people excited to get the brand merch, like seeing people excited to get t-shirts, trying to buy t-shirts off people, that was pretty crazy. And then I think that the wildest to me, when I realized that it was something that was bigger than anybody who'd been building it, was when somebody would mention Bumble, not realize, or if they did realize they worked for it, or if not, when people around you would start explaining the company and what it stood for and what it meant back to you, or explaining it to someone else in front of you, and realizing that, or overhearing conversations at tables at restaurants. This happens all the time, where you hear people talking about Bumble, or seeing a Bumble date, take place, and seeing that it was becoming part of the cultural conversation was pretty wild to see, and it's addicting.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is just the fact that women didn't feel the ability or the power, or feel empowered to make that first move.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's definitely a cultural thing where, and what was it, just different games that we would play, all the guy has to go and really make that first move, or if not, then you have to sit there quietly, or this power shame. Or if you're in college, your whole purpose in college is to get ring by spring, that's a thing. And so, like, for you, did you ever experience that? Did you ever experience like the deflating ability to make first moves when it came to dating, or to make first moves, not just in dating world, but I think that also translates to everything else, whether that's business, just mutual relationships? Like, did you think the crippling ability of making that first move affected you?
100%. Yes, I think that it affected me, and the excitement of building something that was the opposite of like, basically took what you were afraid to do and normalize that behavior. I think making a first move for women you know, it's all about the strategy of getting a man to make a move, and it involves so many games. And I think that it just, the beauty of what Bumble is that it took the games out of things and just allowed people to connect, and allowed women to go after what they want, and allows good guys to be good guys. You know, I think
Yeah.
that so much on in dating, there are guys who are shy or burned out from making the first move and have had bad experiences, and you know, have been embarrassed in public, and they don't have to anymore, and they're able to, it just kind of sets a bar where people, like, levels the playing field and allows people to be themselves. But yeah, I think that so much of it was, I think there was so much shame and stigma placed on women for feeling, you know, desperate or crazy for making the first move and getting shut down or getting, you know, getting written off in that way. And I think I had experiences like that. I mean, definitely, to the point that being able to build a brand that um, empowered women to go after what they want without, you know, feeling like it made them a freak or crazy or desperate or whatever. It was um, something that I kept thinking about, like my niece, you know, and my nephew, and seeing what life could be like for her if she didn't have to live in a world where
Yeah.
she was held back by stupid societal rules.
It was a safe haven. You created a safe haven for that, which is phenomenal. So you reconnected with someone that you met in college on
I
Bumble.
did.
On
I
Bumble.
did. I reconnected. It was actually something that we loved to tell people. I reconnected with my now ex-husband on Bumble, and I still consider it to be its own success story. Um, but we, you know, I got married and divorced within 8 months. Um, and I think that by most, like, by, if we're talking about societal standards again, um, and the stigmas placed on women, I think that so much of, or stigmas placed on couples and people in general, like getting a divorce is seen as a failure. And I think that when I first did, there was a lot of shame around that, and feeling like, you know, we'd been building this brand that was empowering women and empowering relationships. And here I am at 30 and already divorced through my first marriage. And I think that for me, it flipped my mind and the way that I saw it, because I saw so many women who would reach out and were in situations where they were either stuck or unhappy in their marriages, or um, you know, had left their marriages and had lost friends, all of their friends, because they'd gotten divorced.
Yeah.
And seeing that stigma was still alive and lived like a scarlet letter for people, it made me more convicted that I had done something right for me, and the fact that anybody who walks away from something that isn't right for them is brave. There's not really shame to doing something that makes you feel right and allows you to live uh, life well, as long as you're not like physically harming another person. And I think that, you know, and I mean that in a way that, like, living your life not hurting another, not hurting as little as possible, but you know, you have to weigh the pros and the cons of things. And I think about all the people who are stuck in relationships that are unhappy, and it's just, it's a real gift to be able to be in a position where you can walk away from something.
Yeah.
uh, and it's hard, it's not easy. It was a really tough time in my life, and everything after that, it was like the whole world fell out from underneath me, and I went through so many different hardships. And I think the lesson to that I learned is that nobody really tells you. You walk away and people are like, "Oh, congratulations, you're so brave!" Like, you know, well done. And then you just go through a hellstorm afterwards, and it's all worth it. You know, it's, no matter how bad it may seem in that moment, it's worth all of the pain and the struggle, because you're fighting through all of that to your freedom.
You know, you're so some would say you're supposed to be like this savant when it comes to relationships and comes to dating because of Bumble and what it is. Knowing that it wasn't like during the time that was the hardest, and knowing that this wasn't the relationship for you, and as you're going into work and you're working with all these girls, did you feel some type of guilt? Was there like anything within you saying like, what am I doing? Can I?
Not actually. after,
Mm,
when I left, and when I was single again, and when I was like facing my own truth, looking myself in the mirror and doing what was right for me. I think that not after that, because the whole point of the company that we built is to be able to be what you want in life, is what you're in, and you're in a happy relationship, or it's to get, actually we put a billboard up in New York that said break up with bad, find the good on Bumble, because it just was that whole message that you can go after what you want in life.
someone asked a really, really cool question, and I wanted to bring it to life. Someone said, can you talk about being a young executive, especially how you may have overcome imposter syndrome and fear? Which is,
Oh,
yeah, which is really, really good. And thanks for asking that. Olivia Ross, 12.
hi Olivia. Imposter syndrome, I think that I don't know that you ever overcome imposter syndrome. And I think that we all look at other people and assume, you can look at other people on Instagram, or you can look at any success or an article written about somebody, and all of a sudden think that they're an expert, or they're way more advanced than you are. And I just don't think any of that is true. I think that, life is all about trial and error.
Yeah.
And in that, in those like different failures and different moments where you're trying, is where you really learn and grow. And I think that the main thing that I've learned that's been really helpful is that everybody is just figuring it out as they go along. And so in that sense, we're kind of all imposters in our own way. And so, so it's, I mean, you probably feel that too as an artist. I mean, you get on, you're I'm sure going into some of the first writing sessions that you've gone into with some of the incredible musicians that you get to work with, it's, you're in there and you're like, what am I doing here? How am I, like, there have been situations where I'm like, how am I going on stage right before Michelle Obama or Kevin Hart or whoever it is, and your brain is just like, what's going on? But I think that, when you're making decisions and you're doing the best you can and trusting your instincts a lot, and giving yourself the grace to make mistakes, and giving yourself that space, and as long as you're owning up to that, I think that you can continue to move forward in your career, as long as you don't let all that fear hold you back.
I think it's called Still Like an Artist, and or something to that.
Feel like an artist is so good.
Yeah, Still Like an Artist. And so, Olivia, I would say that there's going to be those executives who you are inspired by, and I would say they've laid the blueprint. There is no formula to anything, because it's your own life and you haven't lived it yet, and so you have to figure out what's best for your own life. As a musician myself, like, I can be inspired by the greats, but at the same time, like, they laid their own foundation for themselves, and I have to do the same. I can look at what they're doing and who inspired them and try to draw energy from that, but at the same time, I have to lay my own foundation. And so I would say, if you feel like, oh my gosh, like, am I turning into this individual, I would change your mindset in a little bit. And sometimes it's okay to say, hey, what would so and so do in this in this situation? Like, what would be the best outcome? WWX, and
Yeah.
figure that out. And so I would just say, encourage you to, like, read about your heroes, and try to gain as much insight as possible, and at the time, trust your instincts. And it's okay to be inspired by others, and it's okay to simple as that. It's okay to be inspired by your eyes.
It's so true. I think that that's one of my favorite. I think that's the best part about social media, is the ability to see the creative work that's going out there and be able to be inspired by it.
Yeah.
I've been working on building brands recently, and there's nothing that is more fun to me than to see what someone is doing and be able to, because everything's been done. I was actually talking to Rai, who's on this, my sister, the other day, about, she was saying, creativity is so hard because everything's been done. And it's such a true thought, is that and feel like in this situation I'm stealing what our conversation was, so and stealing like an artist. But you know, I think creativity is so much has already been done, and it's just the ability to iterate on everything else. You know, and I think that in some ways that actually I've been looking at so many brands recently, and I feel like there's now become a formula. So like the startup look, you know, or there's, you know, and it's looking at what other people are doing, being inspired by it, and then figuring out how to leave your own unique mark on something.
You know, there's this book that says there's nothing new under the sun. But and it's true. I think the only thing that's missing is, like, yes, you can have the blueprint, but what's missing is your story, and what's missing is you as an individual and what makes you unique. And so grabbing a hold of that and infusing it with, you know, people you're inspired by, brands that you're inspired by, that's what makes you unique and makes you, you know, stand out. They're a framework. Like, if you want to build a house, there's still like the foundation that you have to lay down. There's still the framework that you have to put that every single house has. But at the end of the day, they're you can build a house that's the same, but like the people inside is what makes the difference. And so, you know, it's the same thing, or the same framework, but you go in and like the way the outside looks is completely different. And so, you know,
Decorate it completely different. Yeah.
exactly. And so it's just it's you that matters. It's not, you know, who you're inspired by, but what's your story and what makes you unique in order for people to consume. So
I think it's so true. That's to me, being able to, yeah, everything. I think so much of it comes down to teams too, and finding people that you collaborate well with, because finding a space where you feel open to trying new things and being encouraged in that, is really particularly important when you're creating.
when you think about creating and you think about executing on a project, where does that align? Where does that come in? Like, okay, I need the right people along with me to really make this. Like, where, say, step 1 to 5, where does that line for you?
Surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you is probably always one of the best choices that you can make. You know, there's somebody asked a question, am I currently working with any brands? Yes, I am. I'm working on building my own things as well. And it's, I think, you know, bit by bit, different people come in and leave their thumbprint on what you're working on or what you're doing. And I think that, you know, there are people who stay and are consistently part of your journey and whatever you're building, and then there are other people who come in and you know, as consultants or you know, working on it for a moment, and all of that has been a really fun dance. Being able to bring in the right minds and creatives has been so much fun to work with different people.
Sorry, so I missed the part where you said where within the number system it would fit.
Because I didn't answer that.
Okay, but sorry, it froze, and so I didn't know if you did.
Within the number system, I was saying that I especially when you're building startups, you know, you're not, there's no unlimited budget. And so I've been bringing in people as needed, you know, if not full-time, bringing in people part-time, or bringing in people to, you know, working with people consulting, or from my own experience going in and advising on different brands and helping them, you know, in the moments that they need it. Just it's that the fun of being able to leave a thumbprint on different brands, or, you know, to that collaboration. I think that it's constantly evolving.
Yeah. You know, you, at the height of Bumble NSA, you chose to step down and take a medical leave. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you were going through?
Sure. It was when it really, Bumble had really taken off. I was traveling nonstop. Fibromyalgia is something that people struggle with, and it's really hard for them, but I've fortunately never had the deep struggles of fibromyalgia. I've been able to continue to live my life.
Yeah.
And And shortly after that, like, gosh, a couple weeks maybe after that, it started to really impact me.
Mm.
And to the point where the physical pain that I was feeling constantly became so severe, um, that the day that I finally decided to say that I was to express that I was in that pain, I talked through from my head to my feet the pain that I was in, um, and realized that it wasn't normal. And at that point hadn't really let anybody know. And the one person that knew was a sweet, amazing woman who had joined the team and was traveling with me, named Jansen. And she was the only person who was seeing me like day to day, because I was traveling so much, seeing the pain that I was in.
Yeah.
And I think that at that point it was so distracting. And part of one of the side effects of fibromyalgia is they call it fibro fog, where your brain gets really foggy and you forget. I was forgetting sentences. I mean, it was really hard and really scary. And I took that medical leave, and I remember talking to Whitney, the founder, about it. And she said, I feel like my Kobe Bryant is limping, which the wonderful late great Kobe Bryant. She said, I feel like Kobe Bryant is limping on, out on the court, and everybody can see that Kobe's limping, but he can't. And she was like, please, go take care of yourself. And so I had a lot of support in that. And I went to doctors, but doctors can't really help with it. And so my Western doctor recommended that I go do Eastern medicine. And so I went to Thailand and lived in an ashram, and I studied Ayurveda and yoga, and was seeing actually two different other like Chinese doctors, traditional Chinese medicine, and started to get my strength back. But while I was there actually learning, I was learning a ton about the yogic philosophy and psychology, less so. It was not like Bikram style yoga. It was more of, the belief system and philosophy behind yoga. And in that there was the yamas and the niyamas, which are like the 10 commandments of yoga.
Yeah.
And one of them is non-stealing. And it's basically not taking more than you need or deserve from the earth, from animals, from others, or from yourself. And I realized that in going back to Bumble at that point, after I'd gone through 3 months of medical leave, that I'd be stealing from myself. My Instagram, I have on my, I only allow myself to use Instagram for like an hour a day, technically.
Yeah.
So it might lock me out in a second. I'm going to try to cancel that.
Okay.
But and my boyfriend's yawning next to me, so I feel like my story is a real snooze fest here. Yeah, so the concept of non-stealing was that I realized that in staying at a company, which I loved, but it felt like it was time. Bumble just sold to Blackstone. It was an amazing sale, but it seemed like it could be someone else's time to join the company and join the team and scale it in the way that a seasoned executive could do. And for me, it felt like it was my time to go and do what I do best, which is create from the beginning again. And it just felt like the right time to leave. And so I left, and that day when I left the company, I actually went and got a tattoo, the Sanskrit for non-stealing, asteya, on my wrist. And it was, for me, it just felt like the right decision and the right move from what we were working on. But I realized in that time in the ashram that I wasn't looking for, I was just looking for like health and happiness in myself. And I had lost touch with so many friends and with my own life. At one point I remember one of my best friends said to me, because I was so obsessed with work. It was all I did. It was all I thought about. I dropped friends and family by the wayside, not in like a malicious way, because I was busy constantly. And if I wouldn't hear back from people on the team right away, I'd be, like worried about it, or, forgetting that everybody has a life outside of this, but you keep forgetting that they have lives. And when I left the company, it was amazing to try to rebuild my life and start that part of my life over again. And so it's been a total journey, but I'm excited to be back at ground zero building again.
That's incredible. You know, if you can, I think that's such an important lesson to do. Just knowing how to weigh and balance success and your well-being. You know, and a lot of people struggle, including myself, on where those boundaries lie. And you know, we're told in life, you know, sacrifice, and that term isn't really broken down to sacrifice and mental illness in a way, you know, is one thing that people can't really see or touch, you know. And so knowing the difference of like, okay, I'm not well, so I need to really take and step away from what's going on. Like, how did you sum up the courage to say, okay, I need to step away? And how can you encourage someone else to say your well-being is better than any financial or business type of success?
Because, well, for me, I realized that it doesn't matter how much money you make, because if you are not well, you know, I wasn't well physically at that point, and it was taking a toll on me emotionally because I felt horrible all the time. But you're gonna spend your money trying to buy back your health, and you can't get it back. You know, you go into health debt, and that's mental health or well-being health. And you know, and on times when you're feeling good or you're excited and enthusiastic, it's hard to get yourself to meditate or do yoga or do the things that, you know, the physical exercise that matters to you to keep you going. It's like, you know, you feel like you need to do it when you need it, but you have to take care of yourself all the time. And I think that there's no comparison, you know, and to be fair, we saw a lot of success very quickly. And so a lot of, like, you know, magazine covers and a lot of different, you know, being at the Super Bowl and being able to see our brand on the Clippers. I mean, all of these were big moments. And if you don't take care of your health and you don't take care of your well-being, you know, no matter how much success you have in your life, it all becomes a kind of, it's not about where you're trying to get to. It's about loving the journey along the way. And I think that the journey along the way is the part that's the most fun. It's that the parts of creation. And no matter how much success that you have, if you don't feel good inside, none of it matters.
Yeah.
And what you get to the end of your life and you've had financial success or, you know, success in media or press or whatever, but you haven't enjoyed your life along the way.
Exactly. I love that. It is definitely the journey and not the destination. It's those things and the people that we meet along the way that make this life worthwhile. It's the people in the journey. It's the lessons that we learn within the journey that really make the destination worthwhile and help us kind of look forward to that. And so we've got, I think after an hour, Instagram actually kicks us off. And so this
is my first time I've ever done a live.
Yeah. I've got two more questions for you. One, you've got so many people who are like entrepreneurs like themselves that are in this thread. And so if you could give them like a call to action of what they can do to help them get from point 2 to 3, not from 1 to 10, because that's kind of unrealistic, but like just to help them take that next step, what would it be?
To help them take the next step as entrepreneurs, I think, well, it depends on what that step is. So if you're in a job and you can't stop thinking about something that you want to do, find a way to do it realistically. So if it's a side hustle that you can turn into a full-time job down the line, like work backwards from where you want to go, and don't let your current situation hold you back from trying to figure out what you truly want to do. That would be advice for somebody who's who's in a current situation and unhappy with it. If you're an entrepreneur and you're building a company, I will never forget at the beginning of Bumble, people just called me Bumble because it's all I spoke about ever. I brought it up everywhere. It was like Kris Jenner to Bumble. Literally any chance that I get, I'd plug it. and like dinner with like 4 people, I would, you know, I'd have the whole conversation be about Bumble, and everybody talking about it. And I think that don't be afraid to be a bit shameless. I think that so often we put this like, oh, I have to act this way or be proper, or like, you know, sophisticated about it. You get one shot at life, you know, and if you want to make your brand happen, like, don't be embarrassed to be known as that for whatever period of time it takes for you to get it there. And don't be embarrassed to plug it, because no one else is going to plug it for you until you get people talking about it. And so that would be, I guess, the advice of being shameless would
Yeah.
be another thing for me. And then I think it's we were talking about this the other day, Abraham. It's just enjoying the like it's the beauty of the second person to believe in you.
Yes.
So it's finding someone who's on your team and excited for you and rooting for you and holding you up when you doubt yourself, because it's really easy to doubt yourself. And I think that you know, there isn't anybody who can help you feel confident other than you, but having some people along the way that hype you up is really important. Because that's something that I've had to learn over the past, you know, several years through everything that I've gone through. It's no one is going to provide you. I don't think any, you know, if you, no one is going to be able to provide you with what you need but you. And allow people to be additions to that, but find it all within you. And find it through reading and inspiration and everything, but still, like, you know, no one can answer what you want in your life but you.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to listen to that.
I love that. That quote is, the second person who believes in your vision is more important than you are. Because,
it's so true too.
Because they're the first person to actually move on your vision. And so getting people around you who believe in you and believe in what you're about is so important and so vital for you as a creative. And so I would definitely second that. And that's awesome. So one thing, the best advice I ever received.
I feel like you, by the way, your number twos or number like 2000s as like the Williamson family. We're all just like massive Abraham Alexandra fans.
Yo, your family is so dope. I'm not even kidding. Your family is incredible, and they're all in here. And so I can't wait to meet the whole gang.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Like the first time I met your brother Charlie, I was like, who's Rye's husband. I was just like, where have you been all my life? Yo? Like, yeah, where are you at, man? Stop hiding, homie. Like, come out. So yeah, it's been a joy just getting to know every single one of you guys. And to kick it off, what is the best advice that you've ever received? My best advice that I ever received was that to not have a plan B. And
okay.
like, don't have a plan B. And if it's something that you want to do, like, seriously go after it with everything that you love. And if this thing doesn't bring forth, you know, financial benefit, would you still be doing it? And if the answer is no, then that's probably not what you want to be doing to begin with. Mm-hmm. And so what would be the best advice that you've ever received?
Okay, so two. Yeah. One was from my grandfather, and he says, take your work seriously, but not yourself, which means bring a sense of humor into what you do and be light on yourself. And I love that, that bit of compassion and humor that you can have in your life. I think it's important, especially for somebody like myself, ourselves too seriously, because we're all just trying to get through our lives. Or what is it? It's a Maya Angelou quote, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. And I think that's been a really guiding principle for me throughout my life, in terms of the more that I've become aware of, you know, the impact that my choices are having on the environment. For example, you know, it's allowing myself to grow. And then once I learn from that, to change. Or the fact that, you know, I've had a lot of privilege in my life, you know, and I've experienced my own fair share of being a woman, but I think it's been different because you know, I'm a white woman, and so I've had that experience of things being easier for me, I think, than it would be for other people. And once I've learned that, it's learning to make sure that once a door is open for you, it's keeping the door open for other people as well. And you know, holding the door open and helping other people gain access to the things that you've gained access to. And I think it's a responsibility. You know, it's like, especially as women in business, I think that, you know, we're fighting for a seat at the table, but it's making sure that like you're either building a table or bringing more chairs with you and forcing people to scoot over and allowing more people to join you, because there's room for everybody to be successful. And the more success that other people have, especially like, you know, especially people of color, women, the more success that's out there, the more success there is to come. And so I think it's, instead of trying to push other people down in order to get ahead, it's building them up and bringing them with you. And I think that, you know, that sort of has, that feeling of doing better when you know better and continuing to evolve has brought a lot of grace to my life. And as in building, you know, building the startup that I was in and then building now, it's that constant challenge of growth. And with your life, I mean, it's changed the way that I every day I figure out something else that I could be doing better for the planet or for animals or whatever it is, that is just like the little thing that I can change or be kinder to other people and have more empathy. You know, it's an everyday challenge.
Well, that is why you're an incredible human. And the fact that, you know, you don't let ignorance in a way cause you, like you're always searching for more, you're always searching to better yourself. And, you know, if everyone took that principle along with us, this planet would be such a better place.
I would hope that, yeah, I think that the planet would be, if people would have, you know, moved from love and realize that we're all connected. I think the planet would be a better place. And I think that, you know, it's seeing others and seeing, you know, it's seeing, we're all basically reflecting the best parts of ourselves back in each other. And it's seeing that and recognizing it and appreciating it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think it's literally going to kick us off in 5 minutes. But I want to say hi to Ronnie. He just jumped in here. You're awesome, dude. And
Ronnie.
Yeah, our Zoom cellos are on point. Sorry to miss you today, but Alexandra, thank you so much for doing this with me. It's been such a pleasure. And yeah, and this won't be the last comment that we ever have. This is something that we get to share. Just a little glimpse of like what we discuss to the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally, like
yeah.
Whenever we talk.
Yeah, this is it. So thank you so much for sharing your story and just being you and just healing the world. So I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do too. It's your music and your spirit and enthusiasm that you bring is just amazing. It's a joy, and I just appreciate it so much.
Oh, well, I just heard Monaco, and was that an invite? That's all. I just heard.
I said, yeah, come join. I said, I feel like a Matchbox 20 song, but it's 3 a.m. in Monaco.
It is 3 a.m. where you're at. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No. It's been a blast to talk to you. Always.
Absolutely. Well, tell Akadi I'm sorry for keeping you guys up late. So you can, what's up, dude? Where you at? You can like sneak in. You can say hi. You can say
hi.
Hey guys.
What's up?
He's in here. It is a way to make an entrance.
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
Man. Yeah, it's good seeing you, man. Okay, you're doing a little scruff. You got a little something going?
Got the scruff going.
I dig that. That's awesome. Well,
he shaved it into a mustache at one point, and I liked it more than I wanted to admit that I did. So I'm thinking on that happening again.
You gonna keep it? I might do the same if you do it.
I'm liking it too. You
yeah.
guys are both, you've got a vibe going.
I'm experimenting, but this is like 2 week long shave, so my experiments take a really long time.
And I'm too scared to touch his hair.
That is awesome. I like the
Yeah.
curls. I'm jealous of the curls. That's awesome. Someone says Luca says hello. So
Oh, hey Luca, it's Janet.
That's awesome. Well, I'm getting a countdown, which is crazy. IG wants it out. Yeah, but thank you guys so much. Love you guys dearly, and
We love you.
can't wait to see you all soon.
Amen.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and you have a good night, good morning, good afternoon.
Wherever you are in the world.
There you go. Our cat is over there yawning. There you go.
Yeah, he's yawning.
Good night, guys.
All right.
Go to bed.
Night.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.